Hello there, everyone. It is Michael James Garber from Embodied Light Institute. I'm coming on here today to share a story. It might be a little bit of a longer story. I feel that it's going to take about an hour to get through everything that I'm about to share with you. It's riveting. You're going to love it. And you may even find parts of yourself within this story. So, many of you have been following me over the years and seeing my story as I have explored quantum hypnosis methods and explored many different very powerful storylines. And then also been teaching and guiding people through healing experiences, through the learning of a variety of different methods. And my whole life has been dedicated to supporting what I have called ascension or spiritual awakening or this great change that we feel is afoot here on the planet. So, throughout that time, I've also been going through my own journey, my own initiatory passageways, where I have collided with different parts of my own self, where I have been challenged to look deeper into myself and to grow. And while those growth moments have been painful at times, they've also been very rewarding. And so this story is about one of the most terrifying and one of the most challenging and one of the most rewarding experiences that I have gone through in this life. Hmm. Some of you know that I've been going through a great life transition. I have been going through the dissolution process of the marriage that I'm currently in. While I feel that my life has been moving for about over a year and a half now, I would say, yes, time is difficult for me right now. Um, there are still some things where the claws of that experience are still clinging on. And so, even as I make the pursuits and the attempts and the movements to move forward in my life, there's still something that I'm dealing with. And while that has been extremely painful in so many different ways, it has also invited me into right relationship with myself in deeper and deeper and deeper ways. And what that has done is helped me to transform fearful parts of myself, doubtful parts of myself, and to transform them into wisdom, sovereignty, and empowerment. I've reclaimed a lot of joy through that experience. And I'm trying my best because this transmission of what I'm sharing is like so rich with some pretty big storylines. I'm also going to remind myself at times to show you that I'm actually quite joyful through this experience, even though I'm quite present and grounded in my life at this moment. While that process continues in the background, and I'm still making my moves to build everything that I have done again from the ground up, this time through my own transmission, through my own contemplative process, and through my own devotion and alignment with life, with source, and with my deepest truth. It's been very fun. You've seen, I have, if you haven't, if you look at embodiedlightinstitute.org, the website, I have put tons of new work out, and I'm very excited about it. It's some of my best work, and yet some of my best work is still in the laboratory, let's say. So as I came back to the United States, I was aware that I would be facing always new things and a new chapter when I come in. When you move into a new chapter of your life, when you go into a new thing, it's a new theater, it's a new space for new themes, for new mirrors to show you, to reflect back to you, to trigger processes within yourself where you have the option to refine, or you have an option to continue in the frameworks and understandings that you've been working with that are probably maladaptive programs anyway. Maladaptive, ego-driven things that when those collisions happen, it's an invitation to up-level, integrate. come into greater alignment. And so I face those challenges with that internal philosophy that everything is happening so that I can see myself in a deeper way. Hmm. Yeah, a few weeks ago, I'll try my best to keep everything as anonymous as possible to protect people. Just because I don't want it just shouldn't be gossipy. I'm also hearing maybe, they don't necessarily need protected, but I will be respectful in my way. So, a few weeks ago, I had what I would say a collision with a person that I have watched growing their entire life. And the behavior wasn't anything unusual, yet it was the most intense expression of it that I have ever witnessed. And as that process happened, as the eruption of what was happening um, played out, through my inner world, I was told, watch this, observe the field, study it as it happens. And as I studied this great explosive behavior, rage and chaos pouring into the field, into the space that I was in, not from myself, I stayed in witness and presence. I started to learn more about another variety of currents of energy that some people work with. This triggered a unraveling and an awakening process within myself as I started to um, become aware of how people that pull from such currents, how they work to manipulate people, how they work with people's own shadow. And I'm not saying shadow as if all people are malevolent of any kind, but we all have things that we're working through. We all have parts of ourselves, like I said, that are fearful or doubtful or holding on to shame and things like this. And so I was shown how souls on this planet that aren't living their lives with the intention of unity or coming into greater harmony or coming into relational harmony, they're working from a place of severance. They're working from a place of externalizing power, where they will use charm, charisma, sadness, victimhood, all kinds of things to pull and manipulate like little marionette puppets to get the people around them to work unconsciously to fulfill the needs and agenda of the person that works from a place of severance and externalized power, from a place of manipulative intention. So, the people that are most susceptible to this type of methodology are often the people that care the most. They feel deeply. They wish and want the best in the world and in their relations, and yet so much of that is also influenced by this unprocessed shame, guilt, regret, disempowerment, insecurity, things like this. And we've all moved through those phases, and some of us, some of you all, still have that. I'll get into the story of that part of my own story later, my own, where I am now. As this has been happening, I also, as there were the trauma of that experience began to crack open what is called the dweller at the threshold in the esoteric wisdom schools. Esoteric meaning hidden. Sometimes I will use the word occult, which has been tarnished. That word has been tarnished. That means the spiritual sciences. And sometimes I'll use the word esoteric because it means hidden. Yeah? So unrevealed, only held by a few people, versus exoteric, which is everyone has it, mainstream information. So, the dweller on the threshold is the accumulation of your karma, your fears, your resentments, your egoic identity structures, that little version of what you are versus the expanded, infinite, divine version, source, soul, whatever you want to call that, higher self. So the dweller at the threshold is the kind of the last of the botched programs in your consciousness. It's the last stuff that needs to be refined before you move into a stage where the term in Sanskrit translates to um, liberated while living. Another term is adept, somebody that becomes an adept, where they're still living in a body. They haven't transcended like any of them, like the masters that you hear about in certain traditions, but they truly come into adulthood in consciousness. Prior to that stage, all of the evolutionary phases are really immature phases of consciousness, because you're operating from the limited self. You're operating from the shadow, from a limited identity. And so to get into that adulthood, there's this passage that one must face that is um, very intense, emotionally evocative, exhausting, filled with desperation, panic. It's all of those feelings, because there is a surging of energy that has to move through the nervous system, through the pathways also of energy through and around the body, and also an intense pressure and collision that must happen at the level of thought, perception, idea, belief system, memory, imagination. All of that has to be tested with great pressure and great force, because this is the great test that one must pass before they are given, let's say, the keys to heaven, the access, true access to the higher records of life. And so I have known for a few years. A few years ago, I found some esoteric texts from the Theosophical Society, and then also was pointed to some of the more esoteric Buddhist philosophy, and then also the esoteric Christian philosophy. You see, with all of the mainstream religions, you have the mainstream exoteric facing of that, but then there are those that hold wisdom. There are texts that are reserved only for those who have really followed that path as far as it can go with the mainstream information. And then the hidden teachings are kept for those who are ready to really finish the walk on that path into adulthood. So, I started to learn about the initiatory processes, of which there are 5 before you become a master. These are recorded in a way through the Gospels of the New Testament, the birth, baptism, transfiguration, crucifixion, resurrection. Yeah, with the Christed being. Or Buddha also has this in his stages of becoming an arhat. There's different ways to say that. Um, Anyway, this same framework is found in the esoteric traditions of multiple paths. So I started to study it, and it felt really resonant to me. There are different um, hmm, archetypal things that a person will go through. The details of it are different because each individual's life is different. The karma, the conditions, location on the planet, age, all that kind of stuff makes a wide variety of how those experiences can play out. But there are certain things that are experienced that cause a collision with what could be called the 10 fetters. Is it? I just have to keep checking because I'm like, well, how much of this information do they want me to give? Okay, so When I say they, it is my guides. It is the great beings of light, of love. You can call them angels. You can call them masters. You can call them my star family. You can call them councils of light. The beings that I am now very closely working with are all of that and more. And they work together. Once you reach a certain state of consciousness, there is a unity of communication, of telepathic transmission that begins to become your lived experience. And so when I talk about they, I'm talking about all of those beings that work in service to life and the positive evolution throughout the cosmos in alignment with the source of life. So I have been told in a hypnosis session a few years ago, about a year and a half ago, 2 years ago, that I was beginning to go through my fourth initiation process. So there's a number of things you have to go through, and then there's the dweller at the threshold, and then you move through that gate. And then you begin moving towards your fifth. So, um, at the fourth initiation, especially that last moments, think of the story of Christ as he leaves the Garden of Gethsemane. Beloved ones betray him. People turn away from him. He has guided and he has taught so many. He has given his love. He has given his service. He has traveled. He has pushed himself. He has worn himself out trying to get the wisdom and the message and the teachings out, and yet people turn away. When faced with the injustice of the system, many people would rather fall in line with the system than to stand in deeper truth because they're afraid. What would happen if you push against narcissistic systems? What would happen if you call it out? What could you possibly lose? What might people say? So all of that kind of stuff keeps people from actually being in right relationship with themselves and with other people. It keeps all the shadows at play. And that's what makes shadow systems, narcissistic systems, and narcissistic individuals able to use manipulative tactics, and there are a variety of them, and to create systems within and institutions within civilization to manipulate people and entire cultures. So I've had to go through my own process with recovering from narcissistic abuse. Extreme. I didn't even know I was in it. And for those of you that have had to recover from narcissistic abuse, understand what it means. It's a fog because fear, obligation, and guilt, fog, is used so much. The cycle happens so quickly that the actual brain, nervous system, and cognitive functioning begins to degrade. It begins to become mush. And your own capacity to tap into intuition, your own capacity to be self governed, sovereign, is slowly and slowly given up by the individual. I will own that. I gave it up because of my own shadow things playing out, my own desperation to be loved, to be accepted, to keep the peace. And so when somebody wakes up to the reality that they're in that experience and they begin to do the deep and painful inner work to look at themselves, to begin to uncover and put everything back together and integrate it, it is painful. It is so much because it's the full system that is hijacked by those systems, by the narcissistic systems. Okay. All of this type of research into these types of patterns and different things that are happening on the earth has really inspired me into a creative process where I am writing now one of the most, is the word prolific, transmissions that I have ever worked on in my life, and maybe in, yeah, it feels right, any of my lifetimes, as I have written many, many things in many lifetimes. Many of the things I'm studying even now in this life. So within that, I've had such a fun time writing this fantasy fiction 7-volume saga called Harmonia Rising. Harmonia Rising explores very evocative storylines and character landscapes and architectures that deal with the typical human condition that we all go through and when dealing with our own personal shadow and how we transform it into wisdom and alignment and eventually stewardship of life. Within that text, I'm also developing really rich systems of polarity, which include, the everyday people of this planet that I call Myarnia. And in Myarnia, there are everyday people, and then there are those that begin to go through a process of remembering ancient truth upon that planet. Remember, this is a fantasy fiction story, loosely based on reality of this planet, because that's what we do when we write fantasy fiction. We can be inspired by our own life experiences and the things that we observe, and then we create a completely fictitious story about it, inspired by it. And when you start to write in that way, when you take out the constraints, because so much of my writing, all of my writing up until this point in my life, except for like middle school and like stuff like that, all of my writing so far has been knowledge, and like very masculine in its way, because it masculine in the esoteric terms and structure, knowledge, this means this. Yeah, this is very different. I'm tuning into the divine feminine expression, so I'm very creative with it. I'm allowing my imagination to take me places. And what that does when you get into a creative writing process like that, all of a sudden different understandings of things begin to open up, and you begin to have insights dawn upon you that you never had before. And that has been very meaningful for me. And so while there are in my storyline, I have people that are awakening to their inner solar power, their inner sun. We also have another group of people that are working in another way. They're working not from a solar radiance, but from a collapsing field, a dark star system. That dark star system is like a black hole, and around these types of beings that hold this dark star technology within their systems, all of the light in that space begins to collapse in towards that being. I call these beings shadow orators, or I can't necessarily say because I've only been writing it shadow orators, shadow orators, shadow. I think it's orators. I haven't actually like really been able to say all this stuff out loud because I'm spending a lot of time in solitude and isolation, and for good reason. And so anyway, these beings have a false presentation. They're able to look charismatic and fun and playful, powerful. Everyone wants to be them. They're so cool. But they can also play sad, disempowered. Everything's against me. Victim, 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 victim. And so these are both ways that the actual behind that shield, this other technology of extraction, is activated. So around those types of people on this fictitious planet called Myarnia, people will start to feel insecure. They'll feel a little bit hunted, even energetically. They'll feel like they owe these people something. They'll find themselves working extra hard to get their approval, to bend over backwards to get to make sure this person or group is appeased and pleased. And so I've been working with these types of characters, and it's been quite fun and exploring how their systems work. So just as, through a progression of incarnations, you have souls that are developing their qualities, moving through their, looking at their inner shadow, growing and growing and growing. We also have this other system that works in the opposite way. And not necessarily in a descension of consciousness, but a severance, a stepping back, a pulling of power into themselves versus awakening to the power within themselves and sharing it with others and bringing people to unity, harmony, all that kind of stuff. So, and there are entire systems that these types of souls have been developing over many lifetimes as they come into incarnations through their Variety of ways to do that. Just a second. Okay, cool. Yeah. I keep checking because I there's so many things I can talk about. It's been so long since I've made one of these videos. So, one of there are many of you that are, on this planet of Earth looking at and studying all kinds of what you could call truther material. You could looking at different things that are happening on this planet that you could call dark. You could call them evil. I'll use quotes. I'm not using that term. I'm using it because I think there's too much of a victim mentality in that word and a polarity that's not really honoring the whole of life in that. Because the dark and the light have to they are the collision that happens with them causes evolution. It causes positive evolution for the light. They are met with their own inner shadow, their own places where they're selfish or all that kind of stuff, and they can use that to grow and to catalyze into growth. The dark systems are and shadow orators, let's say, are used to when they interact, they have an opportunity to awaken. They can feel, even if it's just a spark within them of wanting to remember the unity of life, that can be there. But often they play the role of severance and they cut themselves off because they will see the qualities that the solar emanating beings emanate, such as peace, loving kindness, forgiveness. They will see that as weakness. Okay. They wouldn't do those things. If they did those things, it would be performative. It would be part of the false screen system because behind that, they're working at finding out how they can control the board. Okay. It's a fun storyline, isn't it? How fun. And there's so much more. I've created this whole fun canon and cosmology that goes behind it, that goes into the story. I'm having a lot of fun with this because this one's very different in how I'm writing this book because I'm taking all of the knowledge, all of the information that I have around so many things regarding civilization, cosmic evolution, interpersonal relating, um, hmm, what else? Health and wellness. I'm like taking all of the areas of culture, society, what I think, is needed, and what actually causes the corrosion of all of that, and then forming it into this fun fantasy fiction novel based completely in my imagination and not at all based in reality. So what am I wanting to go from here? Yeah, so I'm taking all of that together and having this fun, creating this big mixture. And then from that, I'm working with ChatGPT to generate so many different things, like so many templates and frameworks for Harmonia. Harmonia is when Myarnia goes through all of its processes, goes through all of its challenges as it's changing from one era of existence, one epoch, and preparing to go through a great trial, a great tribulation, where they will then move into a Harmonian civilization, a a civilization that has moved through the infiltration of this dark star technology system and its influences over many, many thousands of years, which has been trying to cause separation and severance from self, from relationship, from family, from the planet, from the divine. You wouldn't believe all the things that have been done by this fictitious system to create those conditions. But the great test comes for the people of Myarnia, and they must pass their tests and their initiations so that they can come into the Harmonian civilization, which is in paradise. It's not paradise. It's not some blissful, transcendent, I'm leaving the planet thing. It is where the people of Myarnia come into right relationship with one another, with the planet, with the cosmos, and with other beings from other worlds that are so delighted to see the planetary civilization come into adulthood. fun stuff, right? Okay, where do we want to go from here, guys? Back to my story, the things that happened to me. So, while in a very terrifying situation in a vehicle where somebody was traveling at over 80 something miles an hour in full rage and chaos, I was guided to be very patient, very present, and to observe, not to make any big moves, because it was a very dangerous situation I was in. And so I was able to remain in center. This being continued to spin out and spiral out, and I was able to get out of that situation, let's say. Um, a few days later, there was another collision event with that person, colliding of, well, I mean, again, I really didn't collide. I stood in presence and watched these currents of chaos, rage, and entitlement come into greater embodiment. And I got scared. I was scared for my life. And it was very traumatizing for me. It was somebody that I deeply, deeply care about and love. And while there was deep concern for that person, ultimately I knew this was far beyond anything that I could do. And because of the work that I do, I understood what was happening there. And so, at that point, when I needed support the most, I needed so much help. I needed community. I needed people. I needed, at least I thought I did. But every single one of the people that I turned to, every single one of them within the local nucleus of that situation, every single one of them failed me big time, and some multiple times. And it brought up rage in me. It brought it in the best way, because what their unwillingness to face the reality of the situation and their unwillingness and lack of determination to address things in truth. Because if they did, they'd have to face all their parts. And I noticed that. I saw that. And I had compassion for that. Didn't excuse it. It gave me fuel and fire to step into myself and to stand up for myself in ways that I had never done in my life. And it was very important. A holy fire of transmutation moved through me. And it started a process of really realizing I needed to take care of myself, that there really wasn't anyone else besides the divine and my moment to moment choices that I could trust. Looking at the time here. Okay. And so, this, I'll move out of that process and into another process. So I had a day where I was going to meet with a new friend that I've been communicating with online, as I'm recently single, and after 12 years of being in a marriage. I think my 12-year wedding anniversary is tomorrow. I'm still not divorced. Um, yeah, I'm starting to, I'm learning how to relate again in a new way, and I'm changing and transforming, and it's all very new to me. And anyway, so have been communicating with this person for a few weeks, and then I went to meet them to have a day, and we had a great day together. And I knew right away we had soul history together, lived together many lifetimes, or had known each other very deeply, and that there was this deep significance. And he was also acknowledging that there's something going on here. We had an amazing, amazing, amazing day together. This was not a romantic relationship. This is not a sexual relationship, although there was maybe some potential of something like that developing, but it wasn't that at all. And I'll just wrap it up with that person. But there was a living condition that this person was in that was not good, that included surveillance. He had recently moved into this area, had been invited, I'll use the word Lord, into a living condition, promised, a fresh start and will help you, and you can get your life started at, all the way up here, away from all of your friends and family and all that good stuff. Got to be careful with those invitations. This is why. Once he got here, he was these people approached him to have sex with him, and he said no, and that caused them to show what was really deeper within them, their intentions. There was a lot of rage, and anyway, his whole situation, he knew it was bad. There are cameras everywhere inside the house, not just outside. No, there's a lot of people with cameras outside. I think it's all very weird. I think it's all very weird. It's anyway, and this is part of the reason why. Um, anyway, the next day I felt that I should reach out to that person, and I did, and a number of things happened. Um, where there was a great, collision also with him. And I'm saying collision like clashing, that happened with him and those housemates. And I went to go pick him up, and he said that he needed more time, and I knew something was wrong. I actually went to the house to see him because I wanted to get him out of that place. And there were a number of signs that something was off. Wrapping that up, because there's a lot more to that, but I need to wrap that up. I became aware that he was likely um, trapped against his will, and that there were likely a number of nefarious things that were happening to him. And I got really scared because I wanted to help my friend. I faced that fear and I wanted to help, and so I made some brave and maybe on the edge of danger situations, and I kept myself, and I was in communication with my higher guidance system about what was right, what to do. I've been developing a method of training psychic capacity for some time, but definitely the last 2 months. I put that on my website. It's the quantum navigation system. It's currently called self recalibration, but it's going to be changed into the quantum navigation system. That will help you train your psychic capacities. It will help you refine, defragment, learn to discern information, and open up communications. And there's a number of things you can do: remote viewing, remote healing, all kinds of things that you'll be able to do. And so that process was being refined as I was in this really intense thing. So I'd had this other big family thing going on, that was really exhausting and really terrifying for me as well, and really disappointing and painful, full of anguish. And then I had this new friend that was like a moment of like, oh, this is going to be nice. And then chaos, danger, because then I felt like the people that had actually um, trapped him also were, they had cameras. They had my car, they had my license plate, and there were some other things involved, um that I knew that I needed to get out of town. I needed to get myself to safety, far away. And that whole process, so intense, remember, Dweller on the Threshold started to catalyze a great clearing process that happened very rapidly. All of that took me to a place where, a very remote place, a place that I'd wanted to go to for decades. And I understood that something important was going to be happening while I was there. I didn't know what, but I knew something, and I needed to feel safe, and that was important. While there, the intensity of everything that had happened, and the refinement of my faith, and the refinement of my devotion to myself, and my trust in myself, and my trust in them, was brought into absolute alignment. And my understanding of how polarity works on this planet, and the sadness of recognizing how deep this goes, and how infiltrated our planet is. I cried so deeply. And in that moment of surrender and the desire and willingness to serve even the remembrance for those that have severed themselves so far from truth, that do the darkest things, and to help those who are ready to move into a higher level of existence. The words It was either "It is finished" or "It is done," descended into my head, and then my own personal mind repeated it. "It is done." And I was immediately guided to go into a personal healing where I was told there would be a visitation. While in that process of self-healing, there was a certain sacrament that I was to take, a certain intelligence that I was supposed to take into my system that opened up a rapid healing process where I began to clear out everything, 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 all of the things that kept me from a place of the polarity of showing up to life. So, this fight versus the good and the all of that was off. Everything started to come out. Great clearing started to happen so that I could show up in the capacity of stewardship with the note so deeply alive within me to be in service to even the darkest of beings, even the most light of beings, and the whole spectrum in between. And as that process deepened, as I cleared, as I cried, as I sobbed alone in the forest, in my tent, at night, so many things clearing out, my channel opened, and I was introduced to my entire field of governance, of guidance, my my guides. You can call them the Universal Council of Light. You can, but it's not just them, it is all of the councils. It is so many different beings, and they began to reintroduce themselves. They began to come into my field to merge with me, to remove energies that were no longer serving me. They began to guide me through thought, and then they began to speak through me. I recorded all of this on audio. I will share a small portion of that eventually, but they began to step forward into awareness, to merge into my field one at a time or an entire collective at a time, and to speak through me and to give me guidance and to tell me what was coming next and the things I needed to do. And they guided me through a whole process of healing. That went on for about 2 or 3 hours. It was very powerful for me. It was very powerful for me. I have not, up until this moment of my life, ever considered myself to be a channel. And I actually am very skeptical of every channel that I see online because I wonder if any of them are performative, and I wonder how much of that channel has some corruption in it, some shadow, some things that make it not so pure. Um, there are a few channels out there, a few people that bring in higher intelligence beings and allow them to speak through them. There are a few that I really trust. I won't say their names. But yeah, I recorded amazing conversations. It moved me. You'll hear the recording is quite evocative. I was sobbing. It was because when these levels of light, when these beings merge in my field, it is so much love. It is the purest love, and I have not experienced it, but maybe for flashes of moments. And with very few people, and even with the people that I love so very much that show that the most consistently, even that, it goes away. It's not consistent. The love of our guides, of our family of light, is endless. It does not stop. It is unwavering. Grace, love, benevolence, playfulness. And so I began to move in and out as they came in. There were different accents that started to be used as they used my body and um, to communicate for me, and I was recording it, and the accents is a playfulness that is necessary to connect with them because they are in a field of bliss and joy and creativity and unity, and if we're in too serious, we can't connect with them. And so I began to be playful, and as I went into the pleasure of playfulness, that opened the channel more, and I was able to communicate, and so much happened. Anyway, once it got to a certain point, the energies receded, and I knew that that process was complete. Okay, very good. Went to sleep that night. Like, what just happened to me? Wow, that was so, like, feeling deeply moved. Um, the next day, again, all this stuff was still going. I was on airplane mode. I was not using my communication things. There was concern that my phone was being tracked by the things that were going on. And so I still felt that I was in danger. And but I knew that I was in a safe place. There were certain things. Oh my God, there was so much happening. Boom, 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 boom. So many things. And I was staying pretty grounded and clear through it, even though it was quite emotionally evocative. Every single one of my spiritual tools was being used: breath awareness, presence, walking in nature, um, prayer, coming into absolute stillness, 0 point. I had to do it so many times because there was so much moving through me. And I really wanted to make sure that I was doing everything I had to, because I was afraid if I made wrong choices, there could be some really difficult and painful consequences, and maybe really bad, not only for me, but for other people. So, yeah. So I went on a mountain hike. And at the top of that, I was climbing up this mountain, 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 mountain. They told me I'd be flying down. I'm like, oh my God, flying down. Because now at this point, they're talking to me. I'm hearing them. They're stepping in. I'm like having full on conversations. I probably looked insane out of my mind completely. I probably still do. I had to move through that because I've got constant conversations happening with beautiful beings, and they're giving me directions and things I need to write down and full systems that I need to work with and develop for everyone, for the planet. And yeah, so up on top of that mountain with all the burden, heaviness, and all the relational conflict that was happening and all this stuff, I like climb up and they were telling me, you're gonna fly down. I'm like, I don't even know what that means. So, and I don't want to go into fantasy of what that means. And so up on top of that mountain, again, spontaneously, another process of healing. And again, I audio recorded all of that. And in this one, I was brought into right relationship with every level of life on the planet. I had to let go of every type of relational pattern, every program that I had about relationship, because we're moving into new styles of relating on the planet. New, brand new, clean slate. Prior to this, as this cycle coming to a close, all of our relationships are kind of echoes of karmic stuff. There are shadow, maladaptive programs, all that's kind of not infiltrating, because that sounds like intentional, although that is happening with some other things. Um, but it's just there's only so much. It's just not stable. So what we have to do is we have to get to a point, clean the slate, because the relationships that we have in society moving forward after a certain point are all based on pure creation. They're based on unity of life and consciousness all the time. Um, and I will explain more about how we're going to get there. As I don't know how many more videos. I already know this is getting close to like an hour, and I only felt like I wanted to go an hour. Um, is that okay? Yeah, I will make another video later. So, um, mm, I did fly down that mountain. At the top of that mountain, I gave up every addictive and habitual relationship that I had, not just with people, but with cannabis, with tobacco. Eventually, there was a ceremony that I did for alcohol where all of these things, I faced the main dark entity that's behind all of those substances that governs the corrosion of relationship with those substances on the planet, and I sent it packing with love and hoping that it someday comes to remembrance. But there were ceremonial rites that I was guided through where I had to clear those substances up so that they could be used in right relationship. They could be worked with in right relationship. Cannabis in particular has a very powerful role on the planet, and I will discuss that more. I no longer use cannabis in the way that I had used for 25 years. I had no intention of giving up these very helpful things for me on my path that have helped a lot of things. Um, Helped me socialize at different times, helped me feel more calm and relaxed at different times, helped me open up to creativity, helped me have fun, be playful. I really didn't think that there was any reason necessarily for me to give it up. I mean, I dealt with challenges of stigma. What will people think? I'm a spiritual teacher. Is that right for spiritual people? Like all that I had already given up anyway. But maybe there was still a little bit of shame around that and some of the old stories. But I gave all of that up on the mountain. I no longer commune with cannabis in the way that I used to. However, the living intelligence of that plant I am still working with through a multisensory invocation protocol that I've developed that is like helps you open up things that that plant is here to eradicate dark influence on this planet. And I will discuss more about that coming up, but I just needed to say that sentence. It was hijacked very early once it was brought here to this planet. Okay, I don't want to go into the whole story of that, you guys. So, um, see, there's like a whole thing here in my mental screen. Um, third day, there was another journey that I went on. There was like still like a little bit, a final knot in my heart of something that I needed to release. And I was asking like on the second day of that process, I didn't even know there was going to be a third day. I was like, what, like, can I get that? Can I know more about that? Like, I really want to clear that. No, every answer was no, 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 no. You'll get it tomorrow. Okay, we'll get it tomorrow. And a little part of me is like, oh, what's happening tomorrow? I'd already been through so much intensity. What's going to happen tomorrow? But I trusted. They say, trust us, trust us, trust us. So many times I heard that mantra, trust us, trust us, trust us. Follow the sequence, one step at a time, follow the sequence. I'd ask about something, they'd say, follow the sequence, one step, trust us. So some of this story is going to be really important for you because some of you are about to go through your own uh, meeting of your own dweller at the threshold. We'll talk about that soon. So I did the third day was very short process that I was guided through, also in a remote area in nature, and this one was amazing in a different way. It was so soft. I had to give up everything, the last final threads of ignorance, spiritual ignorance. I had to let it go. And to do that, I had to let go of what I thought spirituality was and what the spiritual path was and what cosmic evolution and evolution, all that. I had to let it go, all of it, completely, so that the new could come through, so that truth could come through. They're using Sanskrit terms. So there's ignorance, and at the last, for truth to come through, for the true wisdom to come through, you have to let go of that last thread. And on that other mountain, highest peak in West Virginia, I let go of that last thread and was in profound unity with life. Very grounded, very clear, very sober at this point because I had given up every substance. I'm still to this day substance free, although now I still like a little like a soda, which I never really drank. I haven't drank soda really in years, 20 years or so, but I just had like a Dr. Pepper, and it's like so fun for me. It's like the little treat that I get to have. There's yeah, anyway. Um Yeah, I mean, that trip ended with me reaching out to the FBI and giving the story of what had happened to me. Um, and then once that was complete, I knew that that part of my story was done. It was good for me to come home, that I was safe to come home. And so I did. And I've been in a process of really deep integration. The channel is still wide open, wide open. It will remain open and will continue to open more and more as different beings at different times are coming in now. It's really easy to get me into the channeling state. I might do a short thing today. Okay, still time. Okay. Um, hmm. I mean, in truth, they've been speaking through me this whole conversation that I've been having, and every once in a while, I just kind of stop to make sure that I'm still on track because channeling, there are currents of energy, there are currents of influence. Some are coming from this Maria Magdalena, as she's called herself, Mary Magdalene. I've got another. Do you want me to use her name? It's Talis. Talis is a Lyran, feline being. Also, I think he's gay. Seems like he's like a gay, fabulous cat with all of this like tenacity, and like when you start to hear that like tenacity come out, that's part of his current moving through me. There's also this Pleiadian being from the Pleiadian Council of Light named Lafayette. He's so sweet. And Arcturian Council of 11. I'd never heard of that before. They help me with the blue light, blue sapphire flame that comes through. Um, mm, yeah, there's a woman that I'm just sending my love out to in this moment. Just a second. That knew of my soon-to-be transition, and I love her. Anyway, so she might see this video at some point. So yeah, and there are a number of other beings that have stepped in at different times when I had to work on different things, including, I will mention the planetary restoration rites that came through. So, first of all of those three ceremonies that I went through have been turned into rites of completion. There are three different ceremonies that I will deliver to those that are at the meeting of the Dweller of the Threshold. I'm going to be turning this into a mentorship called the Quantum Leadership Mentorship or something like that. It is for the completion of the fourth initiatory passageway. You will know because your guidance system will direct you to me. And maybe things will already start to have crumbled because at the end of that passageway, all of you will go through a whole bunch of stuff that are going to be moving into planetary service. This is the refinement to get you ready for planetary service. Okay? You have to come into spiritual adulthood. You have to be able to be trusted with the power that's going to move through you for the complete planetary transition that we're here to do. I've been guided, I'm setting up parameters and protocols to make sure that I have a lot of boundaries because there's going to be a lot of different reasons why people are want to communicate with me, and I've got to keep myself really clean and clear and separated from everyone's processes. And but also the people that are going to be working with me, I'm not anymore going to be working with people to help them heal. I'm not available to hear endless stories of people's pain. This is not to diminish the things that people are going through, but the people that I'm going to be working with moving forward have to be able to stand on their own 2 feet of leadership in their own life. They faced all their stuff. I'm going to be meeting with them at the end of that process of that initiatory passageway to help them complete that so that they can also, like myself, open all the channels, be reconnected with their higher guidance structures, systems, beings, as they're beginning to bring in the patterns for complete planetary restoration, full systems, all of them. So you'll know, so you'll have to apply to work with me. I might not be making so many public videos anymore. All of that kind of stuff is going to be reserved for there's a community circle on the Embodied Light Institute website. You have to apply to get into that. Everyone will pass through the gate of a like discovery call kind of thing with it might start with me, but there will be other team members that will eventually take the reins. I basically what I do all the time is I learn everything, I develop the system, and then I have to give it to somebody else. That's what leadership often does. So because I have to make sure that the signals that are coming into those fields are clean, and that there's no other stuff coming into them. So once you come in, there's the circle. Everyone that will work with me must be a part of that circle because we've got to come into a group resonance together. And that doesn't mean I'm telling you what to do. Everyone comes into sovereign alignment and does their own refinement process, and together we field a coherent group. I will be giving once a month transmissions um, through the guidance that comes through me, and we'll discuss things once a month. I forget it might be $29 or something like that right now, or something like that. For that monthly circle, because I need to also earn income. I have like given so much to so many people, and like I'm in my situation with the the divorce that is outrageously, like the amount of paperwork and the amount of fees that are coming, because this should have been the simplest divorce ever. And because we've just been traveling teachers for so long, not accumulating anything. But the onslaught of ridiculousness that I'm having to deal with is costing a tremendous amount of money, everything that I have. And so I really need to make sure that I'm charging for everything that I do moving forward. Um, yeah, I mean, I just have to be honest. I mean, there's been so much of me that is held back out of fear of whatever. All that flew out the window last week. For the most part, I'm still clearing out these little bits because I'm clearing out the throat chakra, but I am no longer bound in the fear. I've done the work to know what I am beyond my mission here on this planet and what I'm available for moving forward. So, I've got to start bringing in some income. So that is also the invitation. I need support. I need support in all that I'm doing. I have all these 7 books that are extremely important. They're the most important work that I've ever created in this life, and they're very important that I stay focused on that. I need, yeah, I have this other thing that I have to complete eventually with the divorce process. And yeah, I've got those 3 ceremonies. I just got the rites of those like really configured and put together, and they're ready for the most part. But also, just the other day, I had the planetary restoration rites came through. So it is a ceremony that I'm going to put on my website. This one's going to be public and available to anyone who pays the small fee, and there are reasons why I do that. But once you get these, it's very powerful. This is going to create a ripple of light across the planet. There is even a candle. I mean, there's a lot of steps in the process. Not a lot. There's like very meaningful steps that again came through spontaneously. I have an eternal candle now that has the light from that ceremony that is just going to be continuing, and I'll just switch that flame over to another candle, into another candle, into another candle for it until it's, yeah, not needed anymore. It has a lot of energy coming out of it, and it's helping in a lot of different ways. But you'll be able to get that ceremony soon. I'm gonna put the rites up. Rites, Rites. There's so many things coming, so I'm gonna stay super focused on that. I'll be making videos when they tell me to. There's still other videos that still need to come out because I didn't think this was gonna go this long in this way. Is there anything else? Hmm. Give me a moment. Hmm. 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 Blessings, children of earth, our beloved family upon this beautiful planet that you call Earth. The stream of Mary Magdalene is coming through on behalf of all of the great hearts that stand with me and shine light through me and in through this being, and offer these words for you at this time. You are invited at this time to come into your hearts, to come into the simplicity of your inner flame and shine your light just like that candle. It doesn't need to push. It doesn't need to fight. It doesn't need to call anything out. It just shines its light, and the whole room is transformed. The soil is transformed. The things that crawl in the soil and live in the soil are transformed. The air and the beings in the air are transformed by your light. Your ancestors are released from their shackles as you shine the simplicity and profound radiance of your light. Allow this light to come through your eyes, this darshan, this transmission through the eyes as you bless everything that you see. Because truly we look through you upon this earth. What you are, truly, you are only beginning to awaken to. But first you must let go of everything you have thought yourself to be. The good. Yes, even the good. The bad. Yes, the bad. The ugly. Let it go. All of those are limitations. All of those are definitions. And you are boundless light. There will be more transmissions from us in the future. And you will feel and you will sense the different currents of love and wisdom and well-wishing and blessing that will move through this current in one focused stream. But it is all of us who look down upon your beautiful earth to witness the magic and magnificence of what you are becoming and what you will create and do upon that beautiful gem of a planet. And you will lift it up, and she will shine as example for the cosmos. Because not only is this work important for you and your life now upon this planet, but it begins a restoration of the entire universe. Eradication of dark infiltration of the whole universe. No small feat. This is how important your life is. This is the opportunity for participation in the higher orders of life. Put your paws upon this earth and let your fire surge through you. Come alive upon this earth. Let your joy erupt. Let truth ring upon this great planetary sphere. A new day is dawning, and we are delighted to witness you come into adulthood. To become stewards of planetary evolution. Your wildest dreams come true. Your greatest aspirations embodied. A new day is upon you. Let go of the old cycle. Let it go with delight. And take on the new garments of light that we have promised you through the many channels which we have streamed through upon your planetary sphere for epochs and many to come. Many years to come, there will be so many emanation streams of us. For we are you, and you are us, and all is one. May the remembrance dawn upon you swiftly as this new day dawns. Hmm. 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 Blue sapphire light for you, dear ones. Hmm. He is here. He has come. And now the fun begins. Hmm. Thank you. Hmm. Hmm. There's still some shyness that I work through. As they move through, there are words for sure that come, and there's emotion behind it. You can hear my accent changes. I have a feeling that my accent is just going to change over these next bits of time. But they give me this capacity. Well, I have. They don't give me. I have. I am in sovereign choice of this body. And this is important for all of you as well. I am in sovereign choice of this body, and even the most beautiful, benevolent, radiant beings of light that I love and I appreciate so much, I still have the power of choice over which words I want to use that I personally feel comfortable with. And for the most part, I love everything that they say. And then there are some times that, I might feel something that I feel better if it's slightly adapted. So I'm just being completely transparent and honest with you. That might shift and change how that works, but for now, it's very important because I'm moving through a process of discerning, of defragmenting, and really remaining really grounded in myself. That I'm still me. I still get to be me, even if they um, get to use, not get to, that we have this agreement, that we have this delightful play that we get to do together, where I get to be voice for them. It's still me here. It's still Michael James Garber, living my life. So, more to come. Check out the website. There's a donation portal there. I do need the support at this time. I'm down to the bones. Maybe even the dust of those bones. So if you know others that I won't be putting a lot of energy into promoting. I really just don't care about participating in the algorithm stuff and all the hypes and all that. I just don't want to do it. So it'll take a team. I want to work with the team of people here that are here for planetary restoration, that can stand on their own 2 feet, that are in service to others, that want to work collaboratively with one another to build a new world. That's what we're here to do. Maybe Earth will get to become a Harmonian civilization. The power of choice is in our own hands now. We get to create something brand new, but we've got to let go of every single thing of the past so that the newness can come through. I love you. That's the end of my transmission today. So fun. They're constantly wanting to speak, so I have to tell them to stop. Okay. I love you. Bye bye. Enjoy.